My two honorable mentions today are going to be the New Orleans Saints and the Arizona Cardinals. So first, I'm going to dive right into the Saints versus the Washington football team. Sorry, guys, force of habit. The Saints win this game 33-22. Obviously, the Saints are coming off of a loss last week to the New York Giants. So there was some question about how they were going to continue this season, how Jameis was going to do. Are they going to just go back to leaning on Alvin Kamara? And it seems they did all of the above. Jameis Winston went for 4 touchdowns, had 279 yards, and Alvin Kamara went out there and he had 71 yards and a touchdown. Marquez Callaway came out of his shell today. I know statistically he has been targeted so many times this season. They just have not been able to connect. Today was that day. He only had 4 catches, but those 4 catches totaled for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deontay Harris, another deep threat for the New Orleans Saints. He had one big catch for 72 yards, and that ended in a touchdown. Alvin Kamara also did his thing in the air, having 5 catches for 51 yards, also having a touchdown. But once again, Jameis is showing that he has that arm and that capability to extend the field with those deep balls. However, the critique here for me is going to be his completion percentage. That was at 50% today. That is absolutely atrocious. He was 15 of 30. He had a QBR of just 50. Not good enough. They're playing a very, very, very bad Washington football team. For whatever reason, Kyle and I were talking about this actually pretty much like all last week. If not, we had a conversation about it separately about how Washington went from one of the best up-and-coming defenses with Chase Young and those boys to where they are right now, allowing so many points, if not some of the highest points per game in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. It's just not looking good. On that offensive side, again, just to kind of slide over into that, Taylor Heineke had an atrocious day. He was under 50% from the field. He did not have a touchdown. He had 2 interceptions, was sacked a couple of times, had a total QBR of 24 and a passer rating of 47. Not good enough to get it done. It was an 11-point game, so it's just not all of his fault. Once again, that defense has not been playing up to par. But when you go offensively in that kind of stagnant sense where you're not really getting the ball downfield and you're also not running the ball effectively, because Antonio Gibson had 20 carries for 60 yards. That is a mere 3 yards per carry. He did get into the end zone twice, which is good for fantasy, but in terms of winning, just not consistent enough. Taylor Heineke was their next leading rusher with 40 yards on the ground by himself. So overall, Washington's got a whole lot to work on. New Orleans can build on this game and kind of move forward in their season with Jameis Winston at the quarterback position. And the next game, I'm going right into it, guys. I apologize if I'm going quick. Kyle's also got his games, and then we got to break down the Russell Wilson news. And we also want to go into the prediction for this game on Monday. So in this game, the San Francisco 49ers headed into Arizona to face a division rival. And they did win in terms of Arizona remains undefeated at 5-0 by the score of 17-10. The game was a lot closer than I definitely had expected it to be, just because Arizona has been so red hot this year. Jimmy Garoppolo did not play, and it looked a little bit more like a defensive matchup. And the only reason I really knew that, because whenever I did get a chance to check my fantasy score, I saw that DeAndre Hopkins was pretty much locked down for the most part until that fourth quarter where he scored that touchdown. But overall, Kyler Murray had 239. The MVP candidate had 1 total touchdown in terms of passing in the air. He was not able to get into the end zone on the ground. He did have 7 rushes, but only for 1 yard. So you can tell that San Francisco was kind of able to contain Kyler's footwork out of the pocket. Kyler Murray was also sacked twice. Trey Lance, something concerning for me. I just got to circle it here. Kyle knows my mindset on mobile quarterbacks outside of Lamar Jackson, because he's been able to do this for about 3 years now. Trey Lance had 16 carries for 89 yards. He also threw the ball just shy of 30 times for 192 yards, and he was not able to get a touchdown in the end zone in terms of in the air or on the ground, but he did also throw an interception. But offensively, it did look a little confusing. Jimmy Garoppolo, you can tell, is a little bit more of that leader. He has been on this team obviously a lot longer. Trey Lance is also a rookie. But for whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan is really using him on the ground for what to me, looked to be a little bit too much. He led this team in rushing attempts and rushing yards. You do not want your backup quarterback putting himself in these scenarios, because your starting quarterback is already out with that calf injury. You do not know how long he's going to be out. So little bit of a questionable play calling on the San Francisco side, but overall, Arizona continues their dominance and they assert themselves to be the undefeated team left, or should I say, the only undefeated team left in the NFL. And seems like they're going to stay on top of the power rankings, at least from what I'm understanding. Am I wrong, Kyle?
Nope.
Uh,
Nope. You know what time it is, brother. You know what time it is. So, I only got one honorable mention today. If you guys haven't figured it out, you got to look at the jersey. And I'm celebrating right today. So, there's only one guy to talk about, and that is one Sir Tom Brady, who absolutely lit it up once again. Brady was, you know, out there, to say the least. He was out there. Threw for, I don't know, threw for 411 yards today. Threw for 5 touchdowns. Also provided me 42 fantasy points. Appreciate that, Brady. And the Bucks just rolled over the Dolphins today. Now, granted, the Dolphins, they suck. They're sitting at 1-4. Two was out for the foreseeable future. And it doesn't seem like to me that they're really going anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately, Brian Flores is in the situation where, this team was probably looking to take a leap forward this year, but it just not has worked out. And, we'll kind of see how that goes for the Dolphins moving forward. But that's not the topic of discussion here. Gotta talk about the Bucks here. The Bucks had a tough road game against New England last week. That was Tom Brady's return to Foxborough for the first time since going to the Bucks. And he didn't have the best game against New England. And New England's defense played pretty well against him. But he bounced back in a way that only GOATs do. And he dominated and carved up this Dolphins defense like it was nothing. And 511 yards, like I mentioned, 5 touchdowns, and just the Bucks just destroyed the Dolphins. This is a huge win for the Bucks. It gets them back on track, putting up 45 points in the process. I was like, holy hell. And just not only was Brady just dicing up this defense in Miami, but he was just spreading the ball around across the board. His ball distribution was great today. Antonio Brown looks like he's kind of re-emerged as that top of the line wide receiver that he was when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was phenomenal today. Mike Evans got into the mix with, I believe he had 2 touchdowns as well in the second half. But just, it's Brady here, man. That's really kind of the standout to me. I only had one honorable mention for this segment, but Brady was just that good today. And Kevin, I gotta say, we're week 5 into the season. Tom Brady's got 15 touchdowns. Technically leads the way in touchdowns thrown this season. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is basically kind of running toe-to-toe with him at this point. But at 44 years old, Kevin, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He hasn't had an interception since week 1. It's gone 4 straight games. I don't think Father Time is winning in this one. And as long as Brady stays upright, which his offensive line has done very well so far, I think Brady could throw for 40, 45 touchdowns. I mean, he did 40 last year. He could do it again. I mean, if I project it out for the rest of the year, he's on pace to throw damn near 50, upper 40s at least. 5 touchdowns today, 400 yards passing, 42 fantasy points. I like where this is going.